Hi, welcome back to the Accelerate Summit. My name is Meg White with Chicago Agent Magazine. I'm here with Dr. Anthony Chan, and he's the chief economist for Chase Bank. You just spoke, we pulled you off the stage to come chat with us here. How do you feel the event felt? Did you get some good questions?
I thought there was good interaction with the group. Everyone in the group seemed to be very engaged, which is exactly what a speaker likes to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you had a lot of good things to share, and real estate professionals tend to be an optimistic bunch. So I wanted to go a little bit into, I loved what you said about the fact that home buyers are still getting a good deal in Chicago. Maybe you could elaborate a little bit on that for us here.
When you look at national housing prices measured by the most accurate way of measuring housing prices, which happens to be Case-Shiller, developed by one of the economists that won a Nobel Prize, Robert Shiller, you see that Chicago prices are rising at a smaller or softer pace than the national numbers, which really tells me that with the robust labor market that you're seeing in Chicago, that in fact the average person considering either a single family or a condo are getting really good deals right now because the economy is doing well and housing prices have not risen. In fact, the average house is actually still down almost 15.5% from the peak that you had in the previous cycle when housing prices rose before obviously they melted a bit.
Right, absolutely. Well, and a lot of it is just messaging, right? And something that you talked about also was the idea that a lot of millennials may not understand that 5% is a good rate. I loved your thought about was it a 14% mortgage that you
my first mortgage was 14.25%, a little higher than what we're seeing today.
Right.
That the numbers are more like 4.35%, which to me, that mortgage rate is a steal compared to numbers that I certainly knew as a young man.
But there's a lot of folks that agents have to talk to kind of help convince them of the fact that this is actually still a good deal.
Yes, and in fact, to be honest, there were a lot of clients that were looking at houses, and when they saw the 5% number, that certainly spooked them. But the good news is now that how the mortgage rates are almost 60 basis points lower. So it's almost giving those people that were on the fence an opportunity to come back and take a look. And the good news is that in 2019, inventory is also going to be a little bigger, a little wider, so more selection, so lower prices and a wider selection of inventory. It doesn't get better.
Absolutely. Well, great. So I want to talk a little bit about the thoughts of going into 2019 of it maybe being something more of a volatile year. Some of that has changed a little bit with what you were talking about with the Fed. Do you still agree that there's going to be a lot of change this year, or do you think we're kind of in a holding pattern economically?
Well, in terms of the vulnerability of a cycle, you increase that vulnerability as you get longer and longer into the cycle, and no one will argue that we are at the late stages of the economic expansion, because when you take into account the fact that by July this will be the longest running economic expansion since 1900, it certainly stands to reason that at some point you're going to have a recession. Is that recession going to be in 2020 or 2021? My suspicion is that the pivot by the Federal Reserve has probably pushed that date out, and right now, at the earliest, I see a recession as possibly 2021.
Oh, really?
But it certainly does not indicate that we have completely eliminated the business cycle, that we're never going to have a recession again. I'm pretty confident we will have a recession.
That's a fair prediction.
Just not in 2019.
All right, fair enough. So you sound like a pretty positive guy. What about the economy does keep you up at night?
Well, right now I worry a little bit about all the optimism with regard to the trade deal. And you might say, well, what does that have to do with housing? If you don't have a trade deal, that certainly is going to raise a lot of pessimism or uncertainty for businesses. That will impact their ability to hire, to expand, for business investment. And guess what? Prospective homeowners, when they see that businesses are pulling back or they're laying off or they're not expanding as much, it causes them to get a little bit more cautious. It causes them to have a bit more reservations about what they're likely to do. So the fact that all expectations are so positive should not at all eliminate the possibility of something could go wrong. So that worries me a little bit. But so far, my suspicion is that the odds of at least some sort of a trade deal, no one's going to argue whether it's a great trade deal or a bad trade deal, are certainly about 90% or better. and that's good.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, what would you suggest real estate professionals, agents, brokers look at in the coming year to kind of keep their radar open and making sure that they're watching the economy?
I think right now, one of the things that the average realtor should be looking at is what's happening with the overall labor market environment in the city that they live in, say in Chicago. If that labor market continues to be strong, that's certainly something that is going to be positive for the housing market. Look at housing prices and how they move, and of course look at inventories, because for many years around the country, a lot of realtors were telling me that they didn't feel like they could do their job because every time one of their clients got excited with a property, the property was sold.
Yeah.
And now with inventories increasing, it gives that opportunity for good realtors to actually be able to execute more transactions and get their clients a lot more excited about entering the housing market because they have more choices to make.
That makes sense. Getting the job done. Well, is there anything else you'd like to share?
Well, another thing I would love to suggest is that when you talk to clients, be realistic. Don't tell them that because you don't see a recession coming in 2019, you never see one. You have to be realistic, because when people feel that you're being cautious and you're being truthful, they have more confidence in you. So say no recession in probably 2019, possibly nothing in 2020, but that doesn't mean it's never going to happen. And so when we go beyond 2020, the crystal ball gets a lot murkier, and the odds do in fact increase of at least a potential slowdown. But the question is, what kind of a slowdown? Make sure the clients understand that when you get a recession, it could be a mild recession, it could be an average recession, or it could be a global financial crisis. And right now, we don't have that many imbalances as we did in 2008 and 2009 that would suggest that the point of reference for the average client should not be what happened in 2008 and 2009. It should be your average recession and not a global financial crisis.
But we do have short memories when it comes to clients especially, so that's something for them to combat. Well, great. I look forward to sharing that with all of our readers, and I thank you so much for speaking with us at Accelerate Summit. It's been fabulous to hear what you have to say, so
Thank you.
appreciate it. Nice to meet you.